All right, so this is a recording I wanted to do on the recent elections with the within the PNP party over the weekend. And for those who are not living on this planet, I'm tired of using the phrase "under a rock." It was between incumbents Mark Golding and Lisa Hanna, and surprisingly, the winner is none other than Mark Golding. Yeah, no, initially. You would have thought it was Lisa Hanna, cause Lisa Hanna is more known in the public eye, former beauty queen, done various stuff, things before into politics, within the PNP many years ago. Alright, and Mark Golan was also is less known in spotlight because he's more associated with other PNP, the other MP Peter Bunting, because he had a law firm. I think it's Bunting, Darren, and Golden, yeah. So he's well, I'm like, so for those who are associated familiar with Peter Bunting, and I've done recordings on him before, and my state of Jamaica and the Caribbean, yeah. Mark Golden's basically one of his close friends. So yeah, so basically, again, ran against each other, and they were basically hyping up Lisa Hanna more than Mark Golden. And you would have thought that because Lisa Hanna would have had this in the bag, though. Like, she was basically meant to be the next Portia Simpson Miller. And for better and worse, those of you who know Portia, you'd get what I'm saying right here. Whereas Mark Golden, I guess, was kind of seen as like the new Peter Phillips, right? The more laid back, less popular runner up. And yeah, again, not really cast dirt on Golden at comparison, but they were just basically the new Porsche and the new Peter, well, Peter Phillips. But whereas Porsche Simpson Miller trounced Peter Phillips, the reverse happened with Mark Golden, surprisingly trouncing Lisa Hanna. Now, and like I said, because of who was more hyped up, yeah, it would, if she had won, would have been less surprising. But where do I stand in this? I'd probably say it's a better choice though, because let's see, Lisa Hanna's more of a media darling, very nice in the eyes to look at. I think I met her once, was much younger. Yeah, seemed like an okay person. The downside is, as a politician, yeah, she heard this is where things get murkier, because word in the grapevine is that she's not that popular within her own constituents, and yeah, she's one of the few PNP MPs that retained their seat in the coming elections, where it was basically a wipeout under the Phillips-led administration, where they went against wholeness, and yeah, they got taken to town, and it's caused Peter Phillips, as you know, to resign, and it's just been almost a civil war to see who takes the throne. But this is what it came down to, all right. And as I said, I don't really know that much about Mark Golan. I haven't heard any real bad stuff about him. I mean, if there's any controversy, I'm sure that will come up. But I will say that's a better choice because Mark Golan, for a little I know, seems to be a more accomplished person within politics, whereas Lisa Hanna, not so much. I mean, yeah, she's there to kind of just be the pretty face and so on. And yeah, to at least Hannah fans are going to be up there and open feelings about this. It is what it is. Alright, because I'm pretty sure a lot of her sycophants are basically going around that tired line about that it's sexism, that they don't want to see a woman, a strong, accomplished woman lead the pack. Which again mean, like, never mind the fact that her runner up, despite his gender, seems to have more accomplishments in the area of politics and in other areas as well. But that's not going to stop them from seeing this asinine stuff. All right, and the thing what was funny is that when they're hyping up, especially the Observer, and the Observer, as you all know, is basically a JLP mouthpiece. All right, like, let's just say the people who run the Observer are don't hide their partisan politics real well, because they do not like the PNP, and the JLP, where they're concerned, are pure as a wind-driven snow and can commit no sin whatsoever. And a few times they get reprimanded by the Observer is at 80 miles per hour, or blink and you miss it, type of finger wagging. But what was interesting is that they were also hyping up at it as her boosters as her cheerleaders. And it just then you just knew that the fix was in though, because if they're hyping up a PNP candidate who's running for the for president, yeah, there's usually a catch to this, because usually that means that okay, they're not doing because they suddenly like the PNP. That means they're doing because they basically wanted Lisa Hanna to win, meaning the fact that okay, that Lisa Hanna, when it comes to what comes by as Andrew Holness, that's just going to be basically Bruce and Portia part two. All right, this is just, and you know that if you know history in the late 2000s when Bruce and Portia ran up against each other, that Bruce basically took the seat, basically took the prime minister role from Portia Simpson Miller, who was basically prime minister under less than a year. I mean, she got it back when the Dudus controversy caused Dudus to resign, but that was just a one. That's just basically a lucky break that they got, though. I mean, and so I mean to say that if Lisa had won, she got up against Holness. Only way that she could realistically ever beat Holness is if there's another Dudus type scandal, and that would just be luck, and not much really so much about who's actually a better MP or who would actually be suited to be to lead the country. That's what they were doing though. Like when all these media outlets like the Observer were hyping up Lisa Hanna, yeah, I knew that the fix was in that. They just wanted her to stay in because they figured that she takes the lead. Holness is going to be around for like a third term. Or even if not Holness, the GLP are going to be in office for more than 2 terms. So that is why they're pretty much hoping that Lisa Hanna would have taken it, but that didn't happen. And Golding is in the took the is now the leader, and that means that okay, the GLP are going to be worried now because with Golding. No, I'm not saying that Golding has a better chance, but with Golding, that means that okay, we didn't get the person we want to be in opposition, so that means yeah, we're going to have to be on our P's and Q's now, or better yet, we're going to have to step up our game. We can't be like the lazy grasshopper or the hare that just underestimated the tortoise. We have to be on our we have to actually start being concerned now because we're against someone that is an actual credible threat to us staying past more than 2 terms. So that's pretty much it because they're not really going to hype up Mark Golding as much. Yeah, they'll acknowledge that he beat her, but they weren't really cheerleading for him because now they have to be worried because just like if Peter Bunting had won against Peter Phillips, they would have been more worried about Bunting because Bunting again is not really as doesn't have the baggage that Phillips had. Even though ironically Bunting basically lost his seat after being beaten by Phillips. So yeah. So now the game is a bit different, but again we'll have to wait and see how it turns out. Now, what's also interesting to note is that if Lisa Hanna had won, all right, that means that Phillips and certain people in the PNP would have had their figurehead there, and that would have been good for Peter Phillips because even though he's been forced to fade away into the background, he'd still somehow have someone who's going to be catering to what he and some of those in his circle would want, like Katie Knight, Philip Palwell, Crystal Tomlinson. Well, even though Tomlinson and Phillips butted heads, but the people who some of the people who were endorsing her, which was like a kiss of death with some of these people I mentioned. Yeah, that basically is an inconvenience for them. No, who really want out to this? Oh, interest enough? None other than Peter Bunting, because Golan, from what is understood, that he was just running just to help Peter Bunting, because after the 2 bitter defeats that he suffered, yeah, Bunting was basically left to wander into sent out in the political wilderness. But now, because Golan is on the seat, he has been let back into the walled city, as I like to say. So Bunting is back. Bunting has basically been let back into the palace. So Bunting, whatever capacity he's going to be performing in, that's going to be to his benefit. Because even if Mark Golding, as I say, is just probably holding his seat for Bunting doesn't even have to really have the seat held for him. He can just be in the same room, probably sitting at the same table with his close friend. So that basically means that he's back in a position of power. In what capacity is not sure, but that's just benefited him. So basically, you could say that Bunting in the end won, even though the setbacks he lost, backs he suffered recently. This all came back around for him because now he gets to be back. He gets to sit at the round table with the other big figures, which is again going to work out. Not going to work out for Peter Phillips because Phillips, even though he's putting on a show that hey, I'm going to be good, show good sportsmanship and supporting the new president, he's gritting his teeth knowing that has benefited his rival Bunting. All right, and that is what a lot of people who didn't side with Bunting are basically not going to be happy about. So I do expect that there's going to be more civil war within the PNP because a lot of the people who were signed with Phillips through Hanna, they are not going to be happy. Even Hanna herself, who basically just what saw this probably as a way of to keep climbing up that social ladder. Yeah, she's gonna have to grit her teeth and say, you know, I'm not happy about this, but I'll put a safe face though. But I'm deep down going to be deep down, not really happy about the outcome. But that's pretty much how it runs, though. That the real winner I could probably say is Peter Bunting, because he basically got thrown a lifeline, and he's basically back. He's basically sitting still. He's back at the main table, so to speak, and because of Mark Golding being his close friend, yeah, like I said, he gets put back into a position of power, even if he lost his seat. But that's pretty much what I have to say about the recent PNP elections, though. Is that I would say that Mark Golding's the winner, but I'd say that Peter Bunting is the overall winner because, again, he gets, like I said, in the end, in a strange way, even though he suffered some defeats, he claimed one major victory right here. So that's pretty much all I have to say. So this is for State of Jamaica and the Caribbean. Check out my other YouTube pages, Miles Gussenfern, Miles Just Productions, and Real Thoughts of Miles. Peace out.